Hi, I'm Charlie Kasko, Vice Chair of the Institute's Advisory Board and Chair of the Institute's Board of Directors. I'm standing in for Rob Luciani, Chair of the Jobs, Economy, and Economic Development Task Force. Our work this year shifts attention to a post-COVID world. More specifically, this research explores employment inequities as well as caregiving barriers amid the endemic phase. A career shock can be defined as a disruptive and extraordinary event that is at least to some degree caused by factors outside an individual's control and that triggers a deliberate thought process concerning one's career. The COVID-19 pandemic is a highly disruptive and extraordinary event. While low in frequency, its low controllability makes it more likely to initiate a deliberate thought process. The degree of intensity, duration, and balance experience varies according to an individual's circumstances. What we have found is the economic downturn caused by the current COVID-19 outbreak has substantial implications for gender equality both during the downturn and the subsequent recovery. Compared to more typical recessions, which affect men's employment more severely than women's employment, the employment drop related to social distancing measures significantly impact sectors with high female employment shares. In addition, closures of schools and daycare centers have massively increased child care needs, which has a tremendous impact on working mothers. The effect of the crisis on working mothers are likely to be persistent. Beyond the immediate concern, opposing forces may ultimately promote gender equality in the labor market. First, businesses are rapidly adopting flexible work arrangements, which are likely to persist. Second, many fathers now have to take primary responsibility for childcare, which may erode social norms and currently lead to a lopsided distribution of the division of labor in housework and childcare. Social distancing and fear may also continue for older adults and their caregivers when many have returned to work. It is critical to examine which types of formal caregiving supports are needed and most effective during crises such as COVID-19, and which emerging caregivers supports should be retained after the crisis ends. Compounding this problem, members of the middle generations of multi-generational families often find themselves providing support to their older parents and their own children simultaneously. It has long been recognized that gross domestic product ignores the care economy, and heterodox economists have promoted alternative economic systems that could value care work and facilitate a fairer sharing of domestic labor while promoting environmental and economic sustainability. It cannot go unrecognized that there are implications of the COVID-19 pandemic and opportunities through policy for addressing the burden of unpaid care work. So here are some of our recommendations. Solutions start with understanding the needs of employees who are doing double duty as caregivers. Employees are often hesitant about discussing their caregiving roles out of fear managers might doubt their work commitment or pass them over for a promotion. Organizations could create a culture where employees feel comfortable and confident sharing their needs with HR and business leaders. This may be as simple as offering more flexible hours, which most companies began accommodating during COVID-19. Another solution would be offering peer support services both in the community and virtually through employer assistance programs or health plans. Employers could also recognize that the need for caregiving isn't going away after the pandemic. Already, 1 in 7 Americans belong to the sandwich generation. This is people caring for both aging parents and young children. This means compensation or benefit policies may be mismatched with workers' needs. Of course, leaders can also model healthy practices by sharing their own caregiving stories, which signals to employees that they understand the stress caregiving imposes and the need for workplaces to adjust to accommodate these responsibilities. This also helps reduce the stigma and creates a culture that positively impacts the mental health of all workers. Policies set at the state and national levels can be much more effective at providing the support necessary to allow caregivers to forego formal work during critical periods in order to focus on caregiving, especially when these policies are free from administrative burdens. Intergenerational relationships, family structure, and public health are inseparable, and the most effective public policy regimes and interventions will be those that recognize these interactions and design policies accordingly. Some potential interventions could include employer or state-funded provisions of child care or tax policies that encourage both spouses to work, family-friendly policies including flexible programs and part-time programs to support workers experiencing increased child care burden during the pandemic and beyond, rethinking performance reviews and promotions, as well as a senior and middle management buy-in to ensure the wide-scale adoption of changes, extending some degree of unemployment benefits to workers voluntarily separating from employment to provide child care when no other child care options are feasible. Governments, businesses, and other stakeholders can run campaigns and enlist male champions to help drive home the idea that a large number of women at work represent socially and economically beneficial progress. The child care industry must also change to reflect workers' needs. Shift work, such as found in hospitality, retail, distribution, and manufacturing, may require evenings, overnight, and weekends. Those offerings are typically not available in the child care industry. Unfortunately, even when supports are available, families are often unaware of them, unable to determine whether they qualify, or simply unable to complete the difficult and time-consuming documentation that may be required. It is therefore critical that policies and programs implemented be as broad-based and as accessible as possible in order to maximize the likelihood that benefits will actually accrue to the most marginalized and at-risk populations. Policymakers should be thinking about implementing policies that encourage the ongoing technical investments made by the private sector to support more work flexibility during COVID, while at the same time fostering a more equal division of child care responsibilities within the household. Policies that specifically incentivize fathers to work from home may constitute a good starting point for successfully reinforcing the modest shift towards a more egalitarian direction. Thank you for listening and for considering such important recommendations.